Hello and welcome to the Overton Audios podcast. My name's Connor Chadwick.
And I'm Daniel Patton.
And on today's podcast, we're going to be reading some comments from all of you in the last month.
And later on as well, we'll be looking at some of the questions that Connor gathered on Instagram. And we'll do a wee Q&A. So, Connor, how are you doing?
I'm well. Does it feel weird that it's the end of 2021 yet?
Oh my God. The thing is, with 2021, it flew by. With 2020, it went by in such. It was hell. How slow it was.
No, yeah, it was just a bit of a blur, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think the moment we went with that lockdown, when we went out of lockdown, this year just started flying by so quick.
Yeah, that was in July when they, at least in England, when they pulled back all restrictions.
Exactly, and now we're in December, and it's Christmas season.
Indeed. Would you also like to know another thing that will make it feel like time has flown by so quickly?
Oh, yes, yes. I wouldn't like to, but tell me anyway.
Are you sure?
I'm sure enough.
It's been 2 years since we filmed The Candidate.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's been 2 years since a full episode. Well, nearly 2 years since a full episode of Fracture Timeline came out.
Yeah, almost. Well, when this comes out, it will be close. Be very close indeed.
Yeah. Damn. To be fair, I blame the pandemic. I blame the pandemic.
Yeah, what was funny was we went through the whole podcast last month, not mentioning it at all. And now we've mentioned it more times, I think, in the beginning of the podcast than we have done across the whole year.
Yeah, true. But yeah, it's been a nice enough year. We've had there's been a lot of like crap this year. Obviously, there's always the dirt of a year, but ultimately we got to see each other again, which I'm very happy about.
Indeed.
And it was very nice. We got to do some more filming for Fracture Timeline again, and you got to very recently, in fact, you got to meet up with one of the co-stars of Dimension of Daleks, Aiden, along with Hugo and George.
So, yeah. We I finally met George, the blonde doctor himself. Finally met him. That was last Saturday. We were context for everyone. We're recording this on the 25th of November, a month before Christmas. Ooh. And we just met up and just had some lunch and just chatted. We had never met before. He'd obviously knew of me and I knew of him, and we just chatted and got to know one another properly. We're hoping to organise another sort of Christmassy sort of meetup in the coming weeks with a few more people though, and that would be nice.
Would be nice. Although I say that would be nice. Like I'd be there. Unfortunately, I'm not, because I'm still in Ireland.
Escape.
The Great Escape 2. Escape from Ireland.
The Great Escape.
The Great Escape from Ireland.
Indeed. But so this podcast is going to be a little bit of a smaller one, isn't it? There's no segments where we talk to other people in this one. It is purely a Chadders and Sweet Daniel adventure.
Yeah. It is a blessed Christmas with Chadders and Dan.
Yes, indeed, and essentially we're recording December and January's podcast back to back because Christmas exists.
Yep.
Indeed.
The time of year where I didn't say a very Christmassy, because all I'm saying is it is still November and I refuse to. In fact, by the time we're recording this, it's exactly a month until Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's Christmas. Are you hanging up your stocking on the wall?
No.
You meant to sing the next verse.
I was answering your question. Are you hanging your stocking up on the wall? No.
It was a song, Daniel.
I am not singing Christmas hymns in November.
It's not November, though.
Christmas time.
It's not the next verse.
Mistletoe and wine.
Still not the next verse that I just sung to you.
I don't know that song. What song were you singing?
Never mind.
Yeah, it's a bit of
You've made this. This wasn't very Christmassy, Daniel. That's not very Christmassy.
It's not very Christmas.
Yes, Daniel has ruined Christmas.
How the Dan stole Christmas.
How sour Daniel stole Christmas. No, yeah. Daniel, no.
But are you looking forward to Christmas this year, mate?
I am. I'm just looking. I mean, it's just been a bit of a, like, in terms of, well, I mean, you know this as well. In terms of work, it's just been tiring. I've been obviously last year was mostly me based in London working, and there was a lot to do there. But being able to go back home every day was a nice thing. Whereas we're currently recording this the day after I've returned from a 3-day work trip to Loughborough. And I may be back doing another one next week. And I'm tired. I'm tired now. Where am I?
You're with me, dear Chaz. You're with me.
Ah, the comfort. I must have gone to heaven.
But yeah, I mean, like, last Christmas was a bit mental because we were obviously in and out of lockdowns throughout winter of last year.
We kind of, in all fairness, we weren't, like, that whole rule about not supposed to be meeting people over Christmas. I think a lot of people broke that rule because it was enforced so last minute. Plans had been made and money had been spent that wasn't going to be refunded as well. And I know that, you can argue that refunds shouldn't have a price tag for a human life or potential infection. But, there were some things that were paid for by people that were just way too expensive that they were being forced to cancel it, which meant there'd be no refund.
Exactly. Yeah,
so they had to do it. And then if they did it, they were called selfish. It's like, well, what are you supposed to do in that situation?
Yeah. I remember to go a bit it's a bit of a dark term, but I remember everyone was in such a rush to get back home to Christmas for Christmas. It was madness. Everyone was hopping on the next train because they want to beat the lockdown to get home.
Well, that's the thing, yeah. Especially, I remember seeing the footage from when I was in. There was a day when I was coming back from work in London, and there was a lockdown about to kick in. I've never seen more people with suitcases. People were just running to get trains to just get away early.
Yeah,
because some of them could work from home, so they just brought their work with them and went off.
Yeah. In turn, I genuinely believed I might have spiked the situation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we can hope that this Christmas is a bit more clean. I mean, we have family coming over this Christmas. Some family I haven't been seen since probably summer last year. So it's gonna be nice to finally have family over for Christmas this year.
Yeah, exactly. And my dad and stepmom have moved to a new house. If those who watch my monthly vlogs will know that I used to live in a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere, and then I've obviously moved since. I've not had a Christmas in this apartment yet because it's just me living here. I've got no one to really it's no point in bringing the whole family over when there's not enough space. So it'll be nice to kind of try and see how Christmas will now work in this new house because it's a lot smaller. We've got, you get used to the family space. So it's going to be an interesting and refreshing Christmas as well. And just have a bit of a detox as well. I'm not going to take another break like I did last year. Remember, I took that December break, which then turned into a 3 to 4 month break.
Yeah, Marie told me you just I think you unwinded it too much, and you found out hard to get back into the flow of making audios.
Exactly. I'm going to give myself a decent break, but nothing that means that I won't get on with it again.
Yeah, detox for a bit, but to just ensure that you're able to get back to the swing of things. I remember you were very, I think towards the start of 2021, you were a bit, I don't know, there was a bit stressed that the yearly schedule wasn't coming together.
Well, yeah, that was the thing, because we'd fallen behind on some of the 2021 releases. It was like Crimson Hunter Volume 2, Sherlock Holmes Volume 1, and I believe Tortured Decades and Decades was actually one of them. So as a result, we'd fallen behind on them. Luckily, the audios were able to be picked up in quite good succession.
Exactly,
but as a result, we spent between basically March and May making them. So as a result, when we got to the middle of this year, I'd only just started the releases for next year. So yeah, that's the sad thing about making audios too far in advance and then having a break for too long.
Yeah.
But speaking of releases coming out, we still have a few more releases coming out this month. And shall we listen to one of them?
Oh, yes, please.
And this is the trailer for Doctor Who Resurrection, Remembrance 2. Overton Audios presents Doctor Who Resurrection, Remembrance 2.
It's the solar energy, Henry! It's thrown us off course! The Doctor shouted. I wasn't entirely sure what he wanted me to do about that. I mean, I don't know how to fly the TARDIS. It's great to have you back, Doctor. And so, will you help us get our Mercury back? Ah, of course, I said happily. The Doctor spoke through the earpiece, saying that I was having too much fun with this. I ignored it, because this was my chance to be the Doctor.
I did hope he would take heed of what I had said. After all, we are Time Lords, and a human like her, well, she does like to play her games. Well, it seems as though I don't know who you are at all, she snaps at me. I felt lost in this moment. I had to claw for a way back out, to find something, anything.
Who are you? Asks Ryan, stepping forward, slightly on the defence. One arm reached over to shield Alison from any incoming attack from the stranger. My name is Roxy Taylor, the stranger replied, moving her hand to one of the pockets in the jumpsuit. The Doctor finished the note, wiping a small tear from his eye, and turning to the girls, both of whom were crying. He wrapped his arms around them, and they stood in silence, staring out into the distance as the sun rose up.
Doctor Who Resurrection, Remembrance 2, coming the 11th of December 2021 by 2 p.m. And welcome back, and we're just going to be reading some comments now before we move on to another little trailer and then the Q&A.
Yeah, lovely.
So we're going to be reading a comment. You said you've got a new comment on the Spark, but then we'll be mostly reading comments from Time Traveller Cataclysm.
So for the Spark, is Miss I Marley saying incredible VFX, and he also says it feels like a real episode. That's nice. Thank you very much. And like a lot of work went into the Spark. I think we really want to get the first episode to the best of quality because obviously it's the first one. So thank you very much.
Indeed, yeah, and yes, I think it is like a real episode, Daniel.
Thank you very much, sir.
Moving on to episode 1 of Cataclysm 1. We have a comment here from Jeevan John, with his new numerical scale. And he says, this first episode was absolutely amazing. The beginning started off on a very emotional note, and it was interesting to see one of the outcomes were of the grid mainframe closing down. All of the cast are amazing. The performances from Kat Furness and Hugo Allen Stevens were wonderful, and both of their characters were just amazing. Rosalind Wellen as Rachel Sparrow was amazing, and I really loved the tone of voice she used for the character. John N. Harper as Andrew Pearce is just fantastic because I love how his character is trying to be the lead while also trying to maintain that human aspect, and Chelsea Lagan as Elizabeth Newman was just brilliant. and I can't wait to see how her character progresses through this season. Last but not least, I absolutely adored Kate Lastman as Harriet Jackson, and I really love that sort of vibe she gives off of how aware she is of quantum technologies is as a target enemy, while also knowing that not everyone were total jerks. Overall, this was an amazing listening opportunity, and I cannot wait for the rest of the series. Also, the new theme is amazing. 200 billion out of 200 billion.
Whew, high praise.
Indeed. And there was another comment here, and I'll read out the comment first and then tell you who wrote it. The comment read, "So nice to be able to finally continue this story. It was great to hear how all the stories from the previous releases came together." And that comment was written by Daniel J. Patton.
He sounds like a bit of a twat.
Oh, Daniel, language.
Oh, sorry, I shouldn't.
Again, Daniel. Daniel, do we need to remind the audience of what you did last month?
We do not.
Very well. I'll let them go back themselves and discover it.
Yeah, so please go back on the last podcast.
Indeed. There was another comment from John, he said, This made me feel good, very good indeed.
Well, concerning the context of the story, it's kind of concerning.
It's John.
That's true. He does like anarchy and carnage.
Indeed.
Yes, chaos incarnate. So going on to episode 2 of Cataclysm, we have Jeevan John, of course, giving us another amazing rating. Once again, Overton Audios have delivered. This episode of Time Travel Cataclysm was phenomenal. Daniel Japan as Jason Newman was fantastic. Thank you very much. And it was interesting hearing how he didn't want to be a part of the whole team, which is understandable because since he was from another world. Alan Rafferty as Robert Black was excellent, and it was a surprise to hear that he was actually helping out Jason with his farm. Chelsea Lagan as Elizabeth Newman was fantastic, and it was interesting to hear how much she was willing to get Jason to help out. Kate Lastman as Harriet Jackson was phenomenal as ever in this episode, and her character is really starting to become a favorite of mine. It was a nice surprise to hear Nathan Carter on here as well voicing the general, who I think was rather good, even though this character didn't have a voice actor. I just wanted to give a special mention to Jason's dog Alfie. And I really just love how Jason and him have bonded. 300 billion out of 300 billion. Thank you very much, Stephen. That means that last bit of the comment means a lot to me. Thank you very much. And also, people who don't know, Jason's dog Alfie is actually based on my actual dog Alfie, who passed away at the beginning of 2019 and has been immortalized now in Cataclysm. So I like to thank Connor for that.
No worries, you're all good. But yes, and episode 3 comments. Yeah. It's just the one comment from Jeev and John again, and with an even better rating. He has also written, Overton Audios yet again have smashed it out of the park. This episode of Time Travel Cataclysm was phenomenal. Daniel J. Patton as Jason Newman was absolutely fantastic, and I loved his character with how he was quite a simple and kind man who just wanted to have a quiet life, but got thrown into a hellhole that he didn't want. Alan Rafferty as Robert Black was brilliant, and I really enjoyed the development of this character from the last episode. Chris Draper as Ronnie was excellent, and he was really good at being a douche character with a slimy attitude. Kate Lastman as Harriet Jackson was amazing. I really love how her character was sort of the central character in a way. Chelsea Lagan as Elizabeth Newman was also fantastic, and I really loved how her character was brought into battle in this episode while also looking out for Jason and accepting in the end that you want to have a quiet life at the farm with Alfie. 400 billion out of 400 billion. Lovely comments.
Indeed. It is nice, and I'm really liking Cataclysm so far. As I said before in the comment, I'm just really glad that the story's being continued. I do love seeing how all these anthology volumes have now come together to create this.
Yeah, and we're now at the we're now kind of back to the series again in a way. Like the anthologies were their own series in a way, but they linked into the visuals, and now we're back with kind of the sequel to the whole visual series with Cataclysm, which is technically the fourth series.
Yes,
it's like how it all came full circle again.
Exactly, and it's been great to be back as Jason properly as well to continue that character.
Indeed,
you were talking about this as well for ages. Like I remember, like we went to go see Endgame, and you were talking about the continuation, and finally see that. It's good to see it's now here. Yeah. Also, by the time we're recording this, the finale hasn't come out. But
yes, so we won't be reading the comments, and of course, we're recording January's podcast around this sort of time as well to make sure that we're free for Christmas. So, unfortunately, there probably won't be any comments reading section in January, but we'll pick it up again in February and do a big overhaul.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you know what? Do you know what also comes full circle? Not just Time Traveler Cataclysm.
Would that be Torchwood as well?
That would be Torchwood Decades and Decades, which, of course, shall we listen to that trailer?
Oh, yes.
Overton Audios presents.
This is the year. This year is where everything changes. Torchwood 1 falls. I meet the Cybermen again, and that's just getting started. If there are Cybermen here, they will take over Torchwood in a matter of hours. Torchwood was wiped out 5 years ago and you're not even hiring me. You're just hiring stupid fucking kids in hoodies and people with weird names.
What are you doing? You have a piece of Torchwood property.
The knife?
UNIT is currently building back up its forces. As a result, Torchwood have been brought in to take over monitoring London.
No! No! Sorry. No. Please.
How much have you been drinking?
I don't know what happens now, you see. I'm all synced up.
Torchwood, Decades and Decades. Coming the 25th of December 2021 at 12 p.m.
Hello, welcome back to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed that trailer for Decades and Decades. I think that will be now at that point, I believe, the first time anyone's ever heard it. I hope everyone's excited to see how it all ends for the Knife trilogy. And then obviously following that will be Rebirth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Rebirth's coming up, yeah.
Yeah, but that's not for a little while yet. Of course, we'll be talking about that after the Q&A. There's a special visual element that we teased in the last podcast, which will be making an appearance. But that unfortunate visual element will not be available for the SoundCloud listeners. It will only be available for the YouTube people, which we will also describe and what happened in it anyway.
Yeah. Will the video be released separately from the podcast at any point, or would it just be on a podcast exclusive?
I think it might be a podcast exclusive for now. I haven't made any plans yet, but maybe we don't know because we are recording this very early. We could come up with something by the new year.
No
anyway,
worries, no worries.
So a few days ago, I put something on my Overton Audios Instagram story, basically prompting people to send some questions in.
And here we have the questions here now, and we're going to read them out for you guys. We're going to read them out for you guys and answer them. So, Connor, would you like to start us off?
Yes. One of my questions here is, in terms of a Christmas special, how different is your writing style? I don't know. In terms of a Christmas special, I don't really know. I just sort of, I listen to Christmas music to try and get into a vibe of it, but I ultimately sort of aim for certain themes of a film, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I think that's sort of me as well. Like I may take inspiration from actual films for my Christmas specials. But yeah, I mean, like it's sort of like what inspires you for whatever special, whatever occasion it's going to be, is what is your driving force. for that special.
Well, yeah, it's like, for example, with the Uncharted Past Christmas special, it's set during Victorian times. So that had a very big family vibe, and also with the sense of how Victorian times were with the homeless community, but the sense of need for love and everything and appreciation. That was there with, it depends. There's usually certain things you can do with the time period that you're writing in to help suit Christmas quite well, because it's all to do with the time, the kind of world you're in at the time. It always reflects well.
Exactly. I mean, especially for your Christmas special with the one that ended Resurrection, Robert's Christmas Adventure, that had a nice element that Christmas isn't just about family; it's also about friendship and good tidings for everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's always, especially for Christmas, especially you sort of have to incorporate with the message of Christmas a certain element of what the message of Christmas has, like majority wise, and see, and that has to come across in what you're writing for it, I think.
Oh yeah, I agree. I've got another question here. It says, how different is it when you or Dan write Devlin in terms of vulgar language? Now, here's the thing. I don't think I've ever written. I know I have written once for Devlin using vulgar language. That was the finale of Crimson Hunter Volume 1. But I don't think I wrote it nearly as vulgar as Luke Lane actually performed it.
Here's a fun fact, everyone. We just most of the time when we write for Devlin, in a day, it's just a generic template for Luke to get what the concept of the conversation is, and he improvises the hell out of it. So for how vulgar and how out there Devlin is, that's all Luke Lane. When I watched Dead Man's Drop from Volume 2 of Crimson Hunter, there's generally lines in there I'm like, I didn't even write that.
Yeah.
And everyone was coming to me saying, Dan, why'd you write such vulgar language? It wasn't me. As I remember, I remember like there's the podcast you did with Chelsea and Luke, and then they were going out and like Chelsea was sort of like, Dan, how could you write something like that? And Luke was like, and all parents, I improvised that.
But yeah, in terms of, I suppose, writing vulgar language, it's to do with his character, and his character is very easily outraged.
He's a bit mental, a bit out there.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I've got another question here, which says, how did the idea of a Northern Doctor volume machination come about? Now, actually, I talked about this. I've already recorded the segment for January's podcast with Nathan already. And we talked about this, but nonetheless, I'll explain the brief version here. Nathan had already recorded in April 2019 for Transcendence, and that was technically his first role in anything Overton Audios related as the Northern Doctor. He then appeared in recording an episode of Series 4 of Doctor Who Resurrection called Death Day, and he appeared as a cameo for the Northern Doctor there as well, of which I thought, oh, okay, he seems to be happy doing this multiple times. Let's pitch a volume. And in 2019, 4 out of the 5 episodes were written, and 2 years passed until we got the final one done, and here we are. And that's all I'll say on the story, because we explained the whole story in the segment with Nathan, which will be out next month. Another question here says, has there ever been a point where it's hard to write for the Doctor? Yes. It's the simple answer.
Does this question imply your own Doctor or other Doctors?
I'm going with both, if I'm honest. I found it difficult to write for the Cravat Doctor once, and that was in the Dalek Federation. There was an episode where, because my Doctor is quite easily offended by things, and there were some episodes where, like, especially with the episode called Last Chance, which was set in Ireland during Tyrone's War.
Yeah.
The Doctor wasn't the focal point, and I didn't want to be disrespectful in that story either, because obviously the Doctor is English. And I didn't want, the fact is he's trying to be a good man, but he's in a time where he's not going to be given the opportunity to be that. So ultimately, it wasn't a story about him, and it was difficult, not because of the character and who it was and how they fit into the story, but it was difficult because he wasn't able to do what he could or would usually do because of those limitations.
Yeah, and because I remember, like, I think I remember you showed me bits of that story, and there's a few bits that were played up for the last, but you did grind it much more into the seriousness of the times of that story, of that setting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's sort of moments like that. I feel like yeah, I agree with you there. It's hard to write for the Doctor. It's hard to put an alien being into a very real situation, a very real historical event.
Let alone an English sounding one.
Yeah. I think at that point he was like, God, I wish it was the Irish ones.
Yeah, I think we make a reference to it in that. Yeah. Another question here is, have you got any ideas for more original content? Yes. One of the 2022 releases, which will be coming up later, is the sequel to On the Scene. We've got obviously Sherlock Holmes is something we're making. I've got another thing I'm making, which I'm going to be recreating, but it's going to be for like coming out in about 11 months' time. It's called Me, Myself, and Her, and it's a remake of my first for my GCSE media final major project, and I'm going to be remaking it and grounding it a little bit more. But there are other ideas, of course, that we're always talking about.
Like how a project we're talking about, we won't discuss here for obvious reasons.
Well, yeah. Got another comment here, or question here, I should say, saying, what exciting releases can we expect for December? Well, obviously, we've kind of already advertised them, but we've got Doctor Who Remembrance 2, and then we have Torchwood Decades and Decades, and both of them at the moment, at least for Remembrance, it's at the moment, it is the final one, but again, they're always open to make a new one, and I've been thinking about it for a little bit to make a set 3. But in terms of the Knife Trilogy, Torchwood Decades and Decades, that is the last one. And then I've got another question here, which is the same question.
And then we go into the second set of questions I'll read out is and just and the question is very basic. James Bond ? That's not
a bad idea. I mean, didn't I tell you my idea for what I'd do to bring back James Bond now? If I was told by Warner Brothers, or no, it was MGM, sorry. If I was told by MGM to bring back Bond, what I'd do with him, didn't I tell you?
Yeah, you said you'd do a World War II setting?
Yeah.
Which is very cool. So, which is also a throwback to Ian Fleming's time as a spy.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, set him, because right now in the modern day, they basically made him useless. Because they're like, we don't need we don't need spies and espionage like that anymore. We need more articulate kind of things, and Bond doesn't bring that. He brings gadgets and explosions, and that's not typically what happens nowadays.
Exactly.
So it's like a case of Bond is great as an idea, but I think he needs to be put in the right place and time. So yeah, if I was ever to do Bond, I would probably set it in that time.
That'd be cool. I mean, it would be cool to actually do that. I mean, who knows? That could be something for the future. We don't know, but maybe. Who's the one DW 2012 Doctor you would love to write for eventually?
I
mean,
to be honest, there's blonde or purple at the moment.
Yeah,
because aside from, I mean, I've written for Little Red now. Obviously, Irish Doctor, Cravat, Northern, and Young. The only two I haven't written for are blonde and purple now. So as a result, it's difficult. I would probably say at the moment, if I had to choose between the two, I would say I'd probably pick blonde.
Yeah.
Just because I have technically, if we remember the story, for Transcendence, Dom was meant to be in it originally, and he had recorded his lines. So I have technically written for the Purple Doctor already, even though it didn't get.
True, yeah.
So the only Doctor I haven't written for in any shape or form is actually blonde. So yeah. What about you?
Very true. Me, thing is, I haven't really written for many other Doctors. I think I briefly wrote a little thing for you. I'm writing.
You
some
wrote
more for
something. You wrote something for me that's coming out in about 2 years.
Yeah. I wrote. I can't remember who.
I mean, have you written for Luke before?
No. I would love for literally to write for. I've already written for you, so any of them, really.
Oh, very well. Follow-up question then on these lists. Who's your favorite Master?
Oh, I'll let you go first.
See, this is difficult for me as well because I used to be a massive Stephen Moffat hater. So for a very long time, I hated Missy.
Yes.
I will say, though, if I had to choose a character, a version of the Master that I love completely, I would probably go with the War Master, Derek Jacobi, because with the War Master, even when he fails, he wins.
Yeah.
He still, even if his main plan didn't work, he was still able to do something to someone and they got hurt, and that is his power. I was going to say, like, the only thing is with Missy, I don't like the hyperactivity and laughter. That's not how I see these characters. For me, I liked the seriousness. Like, my favorite scene of hers is the cafe scene in series 9.
Yeah.
It's the only time that she sat there and talked, and I've seen the Master. Other than that, there are other elements where throughout series 10, with the story of Missy and the Doctor trying to see friendship, you can see the history in both their performances. You can see, yeah, that's the Master and the Doctor talking, but obviously as Missy, you can see those differences in the way they talk and that they've got history. But the problem is that it took me so long to get there, and I still struggle sometimes.
That's fair. I mean, for me, I think I'm on the same boat as you. I really do I love Derek Jacobi as a Master. I recently just got into War Master, and I'm just really digging through Booz Williams at the moment.
Good.
Yes, and I don't know what it is about Derek Jacobi in the role. It's just like he's just perfect.
Yes,
I'm more than anything, I heavily appreciate his audios heavily, but I'm dying to see him in live action again as properly the Master, because that 5 minutes we got at the end of Utopia was just not enough.
Yep,
it's not enough for me. But I also really like. I like Sacha Dhawan as well. He's not my favorite, but in terms of the modern Doctors, he's definitely up there for me. The Doctors, Masters. It's because you can tell he's just having fun in the role. You can just see everything. He's just having a blast playing the Master.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Next question is, if you could cross over with any other fan film universe, who would it be? Who would you like to cross over with, Connor?
Mine's a bit too obscure to answer first.
But too obscure, okay. Thing is, I'm friends with loads of people who have different universes, and I feel like I feel like a few of them are breathing down my neck. I'll give the coward answer and say all of them. But personally, I would love to do something with DDK, MB and Homelands. There's so many, man.
Oh yeah.
but those two in particular, because I've chatted with the creators of both of them. They're great guys, and their love and compassion for Doctor Who and filmmaking is incredible. So any one of those two, I'd love to do a crossover with.
Oh yeah.
So how about you?
Right. So there's a few fan films that I watched back in 2006 when I hadn't even started making my own fan films yet, but I was just beginning. And there was this guy called Ben Green who went by the initials BSO Green. And he was playing the 11th Doctor, because that's how long ago it was. And I loved what he forged in his series so much that it still holds a special place in my heart, that I'd always love to try and do a story if I was able to find him again, to get back in contact with him and see if he'd still be up for doing something like that.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be nice.
Bear in mind that in 2006 I was 11. So I'm nearly 27.
Oh, sir.
Oh.
I'm 25 in 2 months.
Oh, you youngling.
I'll be quarter of a century, mate.
You don't know what it's like. It's all like, I'll be 25. I'm so old.
Oh, sir. If you can get any actor on the show from the show on Overton Audios, who would it be?
Any actor from the show, as in any Doctor Who actor?
Any Doctor Who actor.
Oh God. Oh God. There's just such a huge catalogue, isn't it? Just even when you look at the new series.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd want someone who's iconic. See, do you know what I think I could do?
What?
It would never happen. The actress who played Sally Sparrow.
Oh, mate, is she Oscar nominated or Oscar?
Yep, that's it. She's blown up in Hollywood recently.
Yeah.
So much so that she's actually been asked to return in Doctor Who at times, but she's refused because she doesn't want to play a companion. But if I were to bring her back, I wouldn't make it just, oh, look, a spin, oh, look, oh, the Doctor again. No. It would be a proper, I'd always have it as a series where she'd be investigating paranormal activities in a certain area and then discover something more horrific going on. But she'd use VHS tapes to track them down, and thus, you still keep some of the original story there.
That'd be very good. Yeah,
and yourself.
It have to be a companion for me personally. The thing is, I love purely because I've met her once, and she's lovely. She is generally just so nice, and it's Katie Manning.
Oh yeah.
She just seems like a dream to work with. She's so positive and just genuinely so lovely.
Oh, you shouldn't have said that now. I'm imagining her in the role just speaking to one of our doctors again. Yeah, she's so like when I think of how she performs older Jo, it's so warm and loving.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So I love to do something with Katie Manning. It probably may never happen. I'd love to. I've seen some people work with her before, but I just don't fit. I just been out there. Katie, you're watching this. Please contact me.
Do not limit yourself.
It'd be awesome. It'd be cool if we ever could get classic companions onto Overton Audios. But that'd be a whole licensing issue. That probably might hurt.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. The last question.
Mm-hmm.
What is the project still to come out that you're most excited for people to see / hear? And I think personally do you think we could now cut to the visual elements we were teasing?
That's a good segue. Yes.
Because I'm pretty sure well, at least one of those things is definitely on there for me, and I don't know for you, is one of those projects in there for you?
I don't know. I'll have to have a little look at it.
All right.
So,
Well, shall we play?
for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, please enjoy a nice little visual element that will tell you everything you need to know about what's coming up on Overton Audios next year. And welcome back, everyone, to a little 2022 releases review. Now, to begin with, for those who did not see it, you're going to hear everything renamed again. The first thing that came up was Doctor Who Machination, January 2022. That's something that we've mentioned before. It's going to be announced, I think, by the time, or if not just after this podcast, there will be a cover art release. That's coming out in January. Following that, there is On the Scene 2, which is marked down for February. Dates are going to be confirmed with cover art announcements, as always. And, of course, following that is Time Traveller Cataclysm Volume 2, which is due for March. And, of course, another thing that I don't think we've mentioned out loud like this, but I've mentioned a couple of times in the DW 2012 fan Discord, which is The Cravat Doctor returns for full cast audio dramas after a year hiatus in a volume that takes place immediately after Series 4 called The Cravat Doctor and the Rani. And that will be out, indeed, that will be out in April. Following that, we've got the second volume of Sherlock Holmes titled Family Values, and that comes out in May. And then what we were just talking about, Torchwood Rebirth Volume 1 will be out in June. And then something that we've not talked about at all, due for release in August, is the return of the Irish Doctor after saying farewell to audio, supposedly, in Uncharted Past. But this one is called
Dark Universe 1.
Well, yeah. The first
Dark Universe,
volume of Dark Universe. And shall we have a little chat about that?
Yeah, because that is one of the things I'm most excited for, because I didn't really do much for this one.
Well, this one you're actually the least involved in this one than out of the whole of your era.
Yeah, I gave complete creative control over to you for this one, purely because I was a bit, I feel I was a bit run down after doing Uncharted Past, but you want to explore this is where it's set between Uncharted Past and Fresh Timeline. It's that grief period where the Doctor's grieving over the loss of Nathan.
Yes, I would say that a perfect jumping on point, if you want to know what Dark Universe is going to be like, watch, or should I say listen, to episode 2 of the Federation War. And that is where the Irish Doctor appears and is literally shortly after finding out about what's happened to Nathan. Dark Universe, but bear in mind, I should say this isn't going to be the traditional 4 volumes that we've done before. I think that's probably why they're numbered here. It's going to be a 2-part volume of 4 stories each, basically 8 episodes in total, that will deal with the Irish Doctor dealing with the loss of his adopted son and then being able to move forward in some shape or form, which will lead us into Fractured Timeline.
Exactly. And
I should also probably specify that by this point as well, this is also set after the prequel.
Yeah. So this is during his regeneration era?
Yes, the regeneration era is already happening by this stage, which will be made clear.
Yeah. And well, I think I'm just happy because this is something that I do want to happen. I've always wanted this to happen, but it's something that I think you've mainly curated yourself.
Mm.
It's been just a lot of fun to see this come together.
We've been talking about this for, I think it was a few months after finalizing Uncharted Past. It wasn't out yet, but we were talking about it, and I just thought, why don't we have a volume about grieving? But you didn't have many ideas for it because you knew exactly what you were doing with Uncharted Past and how it linked into Fractured Timeline. But this little thing in the middle is like some sort of weird anomaly for you.
Yeah, and actually, I had no ideas for it because I plotted out Uncharted Past and I plotted out Fractured Timeline, but I had no idea what this little middle segment, this little middle era that bridges those two eras together. I had no idea what that was going to be.
But it's also like a nice trilogy now, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. There's a good free part story to my doctor. There's a free part progression to him.
Yes, you've got Uncharted Past, Dark Universe, and then Fractured Timeline.
Yeah,
and it's a nice sort of trilogy there as well. And the fact is, it's going to be something that will help, which I think it helps as well with the production of Series 2 of Fractured Timeline. It helps. This will help bridge that gap that's created by the production process because of obviously post-COVID, you know?
Exactly. And I think when we originally talked about this as well, I think you pitched to me as, I think we briefly talked about this being Volume 5 of Uncharted Past.
It was originally going to be that, wasn't it? Do you remember?
Yeah,
we were talking about doing it, and then it didn't work because it's about the Chase family, but
yeah,
this is about the Doctor.
Yeah, exactly. That Uncharted Past, that story ended perfectly with Volume 4, and this is a different story that takes place afterwards, and it has its own story to tell. Definitely, yeah.
In terms of my answer from the original question that we read in the Q&A about what I'm most looking forward to, I would probably say I was originally stuck between On the Scene 2 and the Cravat Doctor and the Rani, but looking at them, I would probably say I'm looking forward to everyone listening to Cravat Doctor and the Rani more. I've sent you a couple of little segments when I was editing it. I feel like the break was needed because it's sort of come back and it feels like it's got like my era has kind of a bit more of a newer life to it because obviously we've moved on from Resurrection now, and that was and like as I keep going on about Series 4 and how stressful that was coming back to this and now doing volumes just like all of the other Doctors rather than doing a huge series feels like I can really spread out that that creativity for Cravat without having to sort of focus on 12 episodes at a time.
Yeah, I think that because being able to do these volumes, you get to concentrate on a particular story, you get to concentrate on particular characters. Like this volume deals a bit more with the Doctor's relationship with Rani. Yes,
and also there are quite a few returning villains as well. There's quite a few callbacks for the Rani, and for example, like it's relating to not just the Rani but also Kate's version of the Rani.
Yeah,
and then we see fallout of things that happen in the Cravat Doctor's lifetime. We see all sorts, and it was nice. And we are still like in terms of the future with Cravat Doctor aiming for 4-episode volumes. I will say that this volume in itself is 3 episodes because the episode Transcending Time, which featured the Cravat Doctor, the Rani, and the 13th Doctor, I class as episode 2.5. So do with that information what you will for now. But yeah, you made this little visual segment back in July.
Yeah, we were showing it to Dom and everyone during that meetup in July, and we're very excited about it because I was still tinkering with some of the animations. I was still tinkering with some of the logo design. Like I literally only just finalized the design for Dark Universe. Because originally going to look like how Uncharted Past looked like with the same typeface, same look. But I slightly tweaked the logo a little bit, making the O and the D at the ends of the logo a bit more bigger and decreasing the size of the central text.
Yeah, I can't tell you though how much this video stressed me out, because I was watching it, and when it scrolls through all of these projects, I was looking at them and just saying out loud if they're done or not. And I think looking at them, there's actually only out of all of them that have appeared, there's actually only 2 that aren't finalized and ready to go yet, and that's not so much of a problem because I know they'll get done soon.
Yeah, exactly. It's very exciting because it's something for us to announce, and I'm pretty sure people are excited to know what's coming out for 2022.
Essentially, we've given a very simplistic roster for what's coming up until about August next year.
Yeah.
Because again, we're changing up the schedule again. Because I'm a busy man. It used to be something out every week and every bi-week. There was something. Do you remember that at the end of 2019, there was 2 audios a week for half a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't have that sort of time anymore. I'm an old man now.
Yeah.
I'm nearing retirement. But we've very much tried to we very much tried to stick to each month representing a certain release. But obviously, with On the Scene being a singular story, not a series, there is some sort of bleed over every now and again, but it's nothing too hasty or massive. But we are sticking to basically each month being representative of a particular, project.
Exactly.
And of course, the Overton Audios logo is rebranded.
Yes, we can officially talk about this because it was technically unveiled a little early with Cataclysm because
it's a continuing story and it's beginning, and because it's a month, because it started coming out in November, we kind of all agreed that we'd put it into Cataclysm 1's cover art so that when the remaining 2 volumes came out, it was all consistent.
Yeah. Which was a good decision, but it just meant that we sort of had to ignore that there was a slight logo change before it was ready to be changed because there's going to be a bit of a redesign going into 2022.
Because when and even then in the Cataclysm 1 visuals that you see, that's a version of the new logo, isn't it? You've updated it since, which of course is in this video now. But from now on, and of course, we're changing up the way that we present the YouTube video release, isn't there? There's now a thumbnail, an official proper thumbnail for the video, rather than just seeing the square in the frame.
Yeah.
You will now see an actual made thumbnail that is being done for that. And then you've obviously changed the way that the cover arts are being made now as well, with the logo being able to be shifted over, text can be put in different places. There's now a little line of text on the side, that isn't it? That kind of sets everything right with regards to where this is sat.
Yeah, we put a little bit of text in it. It's purely because of BBC's copyright.
Because that decision was made, wasn't it? When did it happen? It happened early this year when a load of Doctor Who fan productions started being taken down. That then you were deciding in the cover arts you're going to put down a little code. Well, not code, just basically a disclaimer saying like this is a fan production.
Yeah, a disclaimer that just say that this is an unlicensed fan production and that no profits being made.
Exactly, and
it doesn't interfere with the cover art whatsoever.
No, it does not. It does not at all. You barely see it, if I'm honest, if you weren't looking fully. But yes, I'm really happy with the changes that we're making to Overton Audios because it kind of gives it a new lease of life when you've kind of got 250 plus audio dramas under your belt. You've seen that original logo enough. It's nice to kind of have things feel a bit fresher, and we're still doing a little bit of work to have all the social medias ready to be updated, but that'll be happening on New Year's Day. The official transfer of all of the old branding into the new one will be happening officially on New Year's Day.
Yeah, I still need to make the new banner. I still got to do all
Yes, you do. That was my way of subtly telling you. Like, you're running behind, my friend.
I know. I don't know what to blame. I'm just a bit slow. You're the only one who's getting old, Chadwick.
Yeah, God, it's getting up to 1 a.m. now for those who are listening. And I'm very, very tired.
Podcast report.
Yeah, speaking of which, we should probably say farewell, shouldn't we?
Yes, indeed. I hope everyone has a very lovely Christmas or happy holidays or just nice December. Just take this time to
take this time to just have some time to yourself. Ride and glide through December. You know, have a wonderful Christmas and a very happy New Year, and then let's just do this all over again.
Yep. Let's do this. Square one, January. Let's do this. I mean, January. I mean, for the next 5 minutes for us.
Yeah, indeed. But overall, I also wanted to say, with all these announcements for what's coming up next year, I did also want to say like a massive thank you to everyone who's stuck by these audios for all these years. We've also had a lot more people come forward about writing for Overton Audios, and that's obviously helped me massively with the backlog. And obviously, like I've mentioned, like I'm on these 3-day work trips sometimes, so I'm gone for so long. And I was just really thankful to have that support, not just in production, but also just people who comment. Like, we've always got comments to read on this podcast. We've always had interaction on this podcast, and the people who wrote the Q&A as well, who genuinely want to know what we're up to as well. It's very nice. I'm just very thankful to those who have stuck by this for so long, and of course, like, for Dan as well, for putting up with me asking where's the cover art, and you're like, I've got a life.
2022 is going to be a mental year for me personally.
Yeah. And maybe one day, whenever the podcast picks up, you may have moved.
Maybe. Well, that's a story for another time.
We will announce how that's gone probably in the February podcast, which we'll be recording in January. It will be still out in February, but it will be coming out in January. Well, what? No, I'm so tired, I'm losing my place. It will be coming out in February, but we'll naturally be recording it in January, so I have time to edit.
That made sense. Okay, let's just go.
Yeah, I'm shattered.
Take care, everyone. Take care, everyone.
All right, farewell everyone. Farewell.
Yeah.